everyone, and welcome to Monday Meditation, The Joy of Sitting. Just finishing getting set up for tonight, and welcome. Tonight is a beautiful evening, summer evening, and I'm here on the North Coast. What a change from the Sacramento Valley, where it gets so warm in the summer. And here on the coast, it may have gotten 70 degrees at the tops today. What a beautiful contrast. Tonight, I have a plan for this evening, what this evening will look like. And it's always a joy to see you when you come to these meetings. Tonight's focus is, if you're following the difference between the Monday night sessions and the Tuesday night sessions, the Monday night meetings focus on meditation and mindfulness, and how empowering to give yourself this gift. And not just being here with me, but the gift of meditation and mindfulness. On Tuesday night, we tweak it just a little bit to focus on contemplation and meditation. Again, what a gift to give yourself, to include contemplation and little by little to see how enriching that is for your life. Meditation, part of the gift of meditation practice, is the way that meditation organizes your mind. And it's not exactly like going into a library, but it's how you see things, how you relate with things, being able to experience your thoughts, to not just objectify, but to see your thoughts as they rise and as they careen through your mind through spaciousness. And also with the contemplation practice, these ancient teachings, and being able to, little by little, to see how they relate with what's showing up in your life this day, whether it's today, whenever that day is for you. And as we do this Monday and Tuesday meetings, there's always room for you to make comments, your concerns, interact. There are a few things we don't do in this space, which is that this isn't really a space that I've dedicated for individuals that would like financial assistance for their organizations and all of that. I try to keep this very simple. It's a 1-hour meeting, and we focus on what we focus on. On Tuesday night, we focus on one of the stanzas from the Tao Te Ching and one of the contemplations from the daily practice of loving kindness. Now, when you do spiritual practice, meditation, contemplation, mindfulness practice, it really sets an interesting tone in your life. And little by little, you see what your life, the structure of your life, you see what you see certain patterns and habits, where they came from, where you are with it. And little by little, for those of you that want more out of life, then we set goals. And it isn't exactly like setting a goal, I will be enlightened by this and such date, but it has to do with other types of goals and goal setting. So tonight, and I'm just taking a moment here to wave back to Summers_poetry. And would you please, when you, it's always good to see you and wave to you and all of that. If you're so inclined, please say what part of the world you're in, whether it's in the continental United States or elsewhere. What state of the union are you in? And if you're not concerned about people knowing where you are, what city or town are you in? So tonight, my game plan, I always make notes for myself regarding what it is that I want to include in the evening. And if there are specific things that you need from this time that we share, please write a comment. So, as I said, it's always good to know where you are so I can wave to you in whatever part of the world that you're in. And tonight, my game plan for tonight is initially there will be the opening conversation is about the mindfulness of spaciousness. So, in our world and in our mind, especially in the Western world, we have a lot of mental busyness. And it's kind of like we feel that every space has to be occupied. And then we wonder why it is we don't have any space. On the other side of that, though, with spiritual practice and contemplation, we start to see how much space there really is. And so, for those of you that saw the movie Oppenheimer, and this is not a solicitation to watch the movie, he makes this interesting observation and says it to his woman friend. And he says that even in an atom or a molecule, mostly there's space. So if you consider, I don't know how many of you may have a scientific bent, I'm a little bit of a science nerd amongst other things. So if you think of the atomic model, that there is a nucleus of the atom, and then there's space all the way up to the first electron, if there are electrons, and what we think of as electron shells, which has to do with the unpredictability of where the electron is going to be at any given moment. So we say an electron shell, but it's not a hard shell. It's not like a walnut. It's just a kind of orbit of sorts, an energy field of sorts. And then between that shell and the next, there's more space. Or if we look out in our world and we look up into the sky, between us and the nearest um, landmass, let's say our moon, there's a lot of space. And then from our moon to other planets and all of that, much more space. And so the truth is that mostly there's space. And that isn't meant to be intimidating. It's an invitation to find a way of being at home with space. Space inside of yourself, space for others, space for your life. And so, this opening conversation, I've already launched into it, is about spaciousness, mindfulness of spaciousness. And then we'll do our spaciousness meditation. So, the one kind of leads into the other. And following that, I'll talk a little bit about a body centered mindfulness practice and the value of it, what that actually gives you if and when you choose to use it. And then following that, we will do a stress reduction method that involves body centered mindfulness practice, which will piggyback from that right into the heart centering meditation and the joy of that. And then after that, we will, after doing the heart centering meditation, I'll talk more about being aware of your emotions. So, said it a little differently, being very aware of your sensitivities. So, typically, me, you, other human beings, we're very sensitive. I mean, even let's say a dog or a cat are very sensitive to sounds. And one of the most challenging times for many critters, whether they're dogs or cats or horses, around the 4th of July, when there's a lot of loud sounds, it's very hard on them. They're very sensitive to what they hear. They actually hear really with their whole body, they feel it. And we do too, we feel it. And becoming more aware of our sensitivity. So that's, again, mindfulness practice. And then after that, we will do a process to process unpleasant emotions, even pleasant emotions, to process them. And you'll see what that's about. And then at the end of our evening, we will end our evening with a non denominational prayer that comes from the Native American church called the Beauty Way Prayer. So that is pretty much the landscape for tonight. And once again, I really appreciate all of you that are here. And before we jump into it, I'm waving back to Chikubari underscore Jawa. And I believe that you're in Gambia. And it's wonderful to have you here with us. And I hope that you and your loved ones in Gambia are safe and well and happy. And like the ancient ones said, happiness is an inside job. I know many of us think that happiness is about having everything you want, but what happens with want is we always want more. And so living our life out of that mindset of want is not very friendly to ourselves. Want can be a taskmaster that we become enslaved to. It's the if only I had this, if only I had that, then I would be happy. Well, what if happiness was right here with what you have right now, this life, and where we're at in this life, just right now? Why not? And is it as easy as making the choice? Well, in a way, it is. And there are things that experiences that make it very difficult to be happy. Oh, like the loss of a loved one or other challenging things that we live. It's emotion because we're emotionally sensitive. So, with our emotional sensitivities, one of the things to really include is that all human beings, even if we just look at that, all human beings have sensitivities, and all of us share in this human experience. And part of the human experience is having sensitivities and also being happy with what you have right now. Even with losses, can you be happy that you're still here, that other loved ones are here with you, that even though this is a sad time, that there's some level of happiness to have your community, your peeps, your people with you. So part of this opening talk I launched into earlier, and coming back to it, it's the mindfulness of spaciousness. So, right now, if you just take a moment to consider your physical being, where are you? Are you in the middle of a continent? Are you by a water area? Are you by a forest? Is it desolate where you live? Are there people around you that you care for and that care for you? Are there other critters around? Is there enough so that no one's starving, or that very few people are starving, or that you and your loved ones are able to help people so they have enough to survive another day? What level of happiness are you at this moment? And then when we look at the happiness component, we also need to look at the spaciousness. Do you have space to be where you are? So, space to be where you are doesn't mean you have everything you want. It means that you're happy that you have this moment, just the way it is. Do you have space for yourself, for the human being that you are? Do you have space for yourself that you have the ability to be on this free experience, this Monday meditation, the joy of sitting hour? What a wonderful thing that we can share. And how beautiful that even though we may be very many miles from one another, that we have the space, the capacity to be here. So having space for something doesn't mean you have everything. It means that you have space to be where you are. And you can drive yourself crazy thinking, oh, if only this and if only that. But in this moment, can simply give yourself the space to be where you are, that you're here in this moment in a way through the vibes, phones, computers, whatever it may be, that we are in each other's company, at least vibrationally, not necessarily physically, like you're right here in my my little office here on the coast, and I may not be in your village or your town, but through the wavelengths, we have space to be here. We give our time, our space to be here now. And so happiness, and part of happiness is to have space for things as they are. It doesn't mean that you don't want. It doesn't mean that you don't prefer, but it's just taking a moment to embrace what you have right here and right now. Space to be who you are, space to have had the life experiences that you've had that brought you to this moment. How grateful I am that we get to share this moment together like this. Having space for yourself, your life, these conditions, just the way they are right now. So having space for ourselves, and then on the flip side of that, it is having space for one another. So sometimes I do site visits. I go to certain retail stores and I talk with staff. And in retail establishments, people that come into retail stores are not behavior. They may be having a hard day or hard life, and they don't have the capacity or mental and emotional space to be where they are. And so what happens is there's this bleed through of the lack of spaciousness, which is a push away. Because if you can't embrace it, what's the next thing people do is they push away because they have too much and they can't take anymore. They have to start pushing away. And so you may be on the receiving end of someone pushing away. And if you are, then one of the things that gives you a space to be with people that are going through that is to understand that that person, that individual that's pushing you away is living in hell. And you know what that's like. We've all lived through that, those moments when our sensitivities were raw and we didn't have space for ourselves and we were pushing away others, a living hell. So having space for others that may be living in hell with compassion for that human experience. That doesn't mean to tolerate abuse, but it means having space for others that ran out of space for everything. And maybe with compassion, maybe it makes their load a little bit lighter that someone allowed them to go through what they were going through rather than condemning them for living in hell. So that's this opening talk for tonight about spaciousness and happiness, and also remembrance of what it feels like when we're living in hell. So, also included in this are for people that are extremely happy, like let's say some of the Olympic athletes that are coming back to their towns and wherever they may be, and they're heroes. They won these awards. They did something for themselves, they did something for their nation, they participated internationally, they have goals, and they achieve their goals. How beautiful. And that isn't the end of their goals, is it? Because there's always a follow up for everything. So, what's the follow up to the follow up? And even the push to have a follow up to the follow up. Do If this is where you are, do you have space for everything you've been through, for all of your achievements you've achieved, and to see where it is you want to go? How do you create space? Are you creating space for whatever's next for you? So meditation and meditation of the type we're about to do help with that. And each of the meditations in this meeting are relatively short. They're intentionally relatively short, about 6 minutes, just to give you enough time in the inner world to make a shift of consciousness. So please very gently reposition your body on the surface that your body's resting, and very gently allowing your eyelids to drift downward until they do close. And taking a slow and gentle deep breath in, and gently releasing this breath and allowing your breath to find its own natural rhythm once again, free of control. Bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to the experience of breathing. And doing a type of breathing called diaphragmatic breathing, which involves allowing your shoulders, chest, and belly wall to expand on your inhalations and release on your exhalations. Bringing the center, the focus of your to the experience of observing, being aware of the way that your shoulders, chest, and belly wall expand on your inhalations and release on your exhalations. And this isn't for becoming hyperventilated, it's to be mindful of your breath and observing the way that the movement of your body accommodates your breath and breathing. And as you experience the way that your shoulders, chest, and belly wall expand on your inhalations and release on your exhalations, also allowing your awareness to notice, to be aware of the warmth and the coolness of your breath. And noticing how your awareness can be aware of so many things in any given moment. That your awareness sees experiences in many dimensions, including not only the expansion of your shoulders, chest, and belly wall with your inhalations and the release on the exhalations, but also being aware of the warmth and coolness of your breath and the moist and dryness of your breath. And as you allow yourself to be aware of the way that your body movement accommodates your breath and breathing, the warmth and coolness of your breath, the moist and dryness of your breath, and also noticing the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within. being aware of the way that your body movement accommodates your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse throughout your whole being, the warmth and coolness of your breath, the moist and dryness of your breath, and the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within. Noticing the tendency to grab a thought, to grab an emotion, to identify with thoughts, to identify with emotions, to lapse into fantasies, and the space that all of that mental and emotional activity arise within. Noticing how thoughts can come and go or come and stay, the way that some thoughts may linger, the way that some thoughts lapse into fantasies with visuals, thoughts, emotions, feelings, sensitivities, and noticing whose sensitivities they are, as it should be, and the space that all of that awareness arises within. And as you continue to be aware of the way that your body movement accommodates your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse, the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within, and also the awareness of this gentle, calm sense, this gentle calm that's also right here. Continuing to be aware of how your body movement accommodates your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse, the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within, and this gentle calm that's always right here. And beginning to soften into your calm while being aware of the way that your body movement accommodates your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse, the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within, and this gentle calm that's always right here. And softening that much more deeply into your calm while being aware of the way that your body movement accommodates your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse, the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within, and this calm that's always right here, so gentle, so inviting, and softening that much more deeply into your calm. And notice how the ease that you're calm as you soften into it, the ease in allowing you to be aware of so many things, so many experiences that are running simultaneously. Taking just another moment to soften that much more deeply into your calm and allowing your calm to saturate your being. And taking another slow and gentle deep breath in, and gently releasing this breath and allowing your breath to find its own natural rhythm once again, free of control. Slowly beginning to move your fingers and your toes, gently stretching your hands and your feet, slowly moving your wrists and your ankles, gently shrugging your shoulders and stretching your back and your neck and your arms and your legs. And when you're ready, slowly let your eyes come back open And notice if the room seems a little different than it did before, and if you a little different than you did. If there is a difference and you're enjoying this difference, please soften into it and recognize that this is a gift that you've given to yourself. And I'm waving back to Sebi Kate underscore design. Thank you for being here. And Elizabeth Jenny 372. Thank you for being here. And Cecilia, great to see you tonight. And waving back to M Somi75. Wonderful to see you here tonight. So let's see. I hope that meditation was good for everybody. And if you have any comments or concerns, interests in what you might like to talk about tonight, what needs you may have with regard to mindfulness training, challenges here or there, or with meditation practice, please write in the comment area. And also in terms of where you may be in this world, if you're in India or here in the US or in Europe or in the Gambia, wherever you may be, if you feel comfortable in writing in the comment area, I would love to wave back to you. And thank you for being here tonight. So that was the opening talk and opening meditation for tonight. And let's talk a little bit about body-centered mindfulness, what that means to body-centered mindfulness practice, what its utility is, and what happens if you choose to do that. So just a little bit of personal history. I first learned about this method quite a few years ago now, in 1972, from my Buddhist teacher. So I trained for many years in Buddhism and then quite a few years in cross-cultural spirituality. And I was very hungry for a lot of different experiences in those specific areas. But this body-centered mindfulness practice I was taught went back to the time of the Buddha. And the Buddha never considered himself to be a god. He considered himself to be an ordinary person that had an unusual experience that he thought could benefit others. And this body-centered mindfulness practice is a way of coming to know your sensitivities. And it gives you kind of an interesting tweak at times, to shift of mindset, to recognize that we're not just reactors, we also engage, we create, we act as well as react. And with regard to mindfulness, we come to see with the body-centered mindfulness practice where our sensitivities are mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Where are these sensitivities? Well, sometimes you have an itch in your arm, and so you have a sensitivity to that kind of feeling. There are many types of feelings. And so the body-centered mindfulness practice gives you tools in order to be more aware of your body and your sensitivities. And that it isn't just about other people behaving poorly. Most of it has to do with understanding where your sensitivities live inside of you. And then as you continue to practice, if this really um, creates value for you in your life and you pick up the daily practice of it, throughout your day, you do some body scanning just to see what you may be accumulating, the stress of the day, what in terms of how we speak with ourselves, and also how we treat ourselves, the way we drive ourselves, and the stress that builds over time. So, and then part of loving kindness practice, of course, always starts with the very same thing, how we speak to ourselves in our own mind and the way that we treat ourselves. So if you ever notice, I don't know how many of you may have anger issues. I know I've had my own. But what happens with anger is something begins to fester. An event happens and your sensitivities get activated because we're very sensitive. And of course, they got stimulated and you were aware of it. But then what starts to accumulate from that awareness is all of these thoughts. What happened? What did that mean to you? What did it mean to them? And we start to associate certain intentionality that one person intended to um, do harm and the unpleasant sensitivities, the tone and manner of delivery, and everything we make that up in our mind. So what then from that, then as that grows, the more we say to ourselves in our mind, the more we feel emotionally, at some point, we either pull away or we attack. Very few people just sit there and take it forever, although that can happen. And some of you may be in very difficult situations where you're not sure how to set boundaries and you feel victimized by circumstances, people taking advantage of you. That isn't helpful, it's hurtful. And they don't consider that you have rights also. And they try to take things from you that don't belong to them. So there's that kind of emotional, physical, mental robbery of sorts. And so with the body centered mindfulness practice, first we become aware of our sensitivities. Little by little, we become aware of how to process our stress. We see how our stress accumulates, we see how to release the stress. And then as we release it, we did something really good for ourselves. And then part of what can happen over time with boundaries, one form of boundary is you can recognize that other people have their problems too. Why would someone do that to another person? And it isn't to justify what someone else does, but to recognize the disability of the other person that has a character like that, that they get off somehow on harming others. And so there's all of these different venues that go with this. So let's do a little bit of body centered mindfulness practice. So you're not just listening to me talk about it, but that we actually have an experience that could be very helpful over time. So, with all meditation practice, it's always a good place to start to readjust the way that you're sitting on the surface that your body's resting. So, you just take a moment to reposition your body. And then, as you're ready, very gently let your eyelids drift downward until they do close. And taking a slow and gentle deep breath in and gently releasing this breath and allowing your breath its own natural rhythm once again, free of control. And beginning to scan to feel on the inside of your being, from the tips of your toes to the top of your head, looking for the locations and content where your stress, tension, pain, and discomforts reside, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, and or spiritual, or any combinations thereof, no matter how large or small, no matter if anxieties, worries, concerns may be a part of it, whether your pain is a part of it, whether your push, your stress, the way you push to get things done may be a part of it. And just for now, allowing your love to work for you and through you by giving these locations and content a very warm, tender, nurturing, caring, loving, inclusive, and connecting embrace. And sometimes we grab our thoughts, we grab our emotions, giving these locations and content this embrace. And tightening your embrace just a little bit more in order to give these locations and content a very full hearted, open hearted, warm, tender, nurturing, caring, loving, inclusive, and connecting embrace. And softening your embrace and releasing. Gently bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to this feeling of release. And allowing this feeling of release to flow throughout your entire being. And allowing all of your senses to register this experience of release. And softening into this experience of release. Once again, scanning from tips of your toes to the top of your head, looking for the locations and content where your stress, tension, pain, and discomforts reside, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, and or spiritual, or any combinations thereof, no matter how large or small, where your sensitivities reside. And giving these locations and content a very warm, tender, nurturing, loving, inclusive, and connecting embrace. The gentlest embrace that's possible for you. Giving these locations and content the gentlest embrace around your sensitivities, stress, all of that. And softening and releasing. Gently bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to this feeling of release. And allowing this feeling of release throughout your entire being. And allowing all of your senses to register this experience of release. And softening into this experience of release. And one more time from the tips of your toes to the top of your head, looking for the locations and content where your stress, tension, pain, and discomforts reside, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, and or spiritual, or any combinations thereof, no matter how large or how small. And this time, just the tiniest amount of touch to these places, whisper soft, barely touching the fringes of these locations and content and your sensitivities. The lightest touch, the lightest warm, tender, nurturing, caring, loving, inclusive, and connecting content. And softening and releasing. Gently bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to this feeling of release. and allowing this feeling of release to flow throughout your entire being, and allowing all of your senses to register this experience of release, and softening into this experience of release, and very gently bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to the dull ache in your heart, the doorway in. And you know this dull ache from many losses that you may have had throughout your life, and also the sweet spot where your love also resides. And leaning back into this dull ache, leaning back more and more into the doorway into your heart until you somewhat plop inside your own heart. And allowing all of your senses to register the experience of being on the inside of your heart. It might seem more quiet, it might seem more peaceful, it might seem more calm on the inside. And recognizing the place within your heart that your love always arises from. Whether your love is for a person, a place, a thing, a two-legged, a four-legged, a no-legged, whether your love is for someone on this plane of existence or any other, your love always arises from this place. And allowing all of your senses to register this pure love that lives within you. And taking just a moment to allow your pure love to saturate your being. And perhaps noticing some of the essences of love that live within your love, like caring and kindness, and also this vibration of connection that lives within your love. And you know this vibration of connection from times that you've experienced feeling connected to a person, a place, a thing, or even the desire to connect when it wasn't possible. And allowing this vibration of connection to flow through you and around you, and allowing all of your senses to register this pure connection that lives within you, and softening into your pure connection. And taking just another moment to allowing your pure connection to saturate your being. And taking another slow and gentle deep breath in, and gently release this breath, and allowing your breath to find its own natural rhythm once again, free of control. Slowly beginning to move your fingers and your toes, gently stretching your hands and your feet, slowly moving your wrists and your ankles, gently shrugging your shoulders and stretching your back and your neck and your arms and your legs. And when you're ready, slowly let your eyes come back open and notice if the room and space around you seems a little different than before, and if you feel a little different than you did. If there is a difference and you're enjoying this difference or curious about it, please soften into it and recognize that this is a gift that you've given to yourself. Let's talk a little bit more about emotional sensitivities. It's so interesting, I think, that the tone and manner of conversation can activate our sensitivities without us being aware that we even have sensitivities. We, from a mental or somewhat emotional place, we think we know what something meant. We associate this with that. And in doing that, we say other things or do other things out of a reaction to our own sensitivities. And so, as we become more aware of our sensitivities and also noticing the life experiences where this patterning came from, which wasn't necessarily today, it was some yesterday, but all of this, our thought patterns, our emotional patterns, a lot of that, it, it's not like someone was being villainistic in some way. I'm not quite sure if that's a word, but they were being unfriendly toward you. It's just that as younger people are very sensitive, of course. And older people also are very sensitive, and very old people are still very sensitive. And so, but coming to see that our sensitivities are indicators, but not necessarily that something means what we think it means. So, what can help us, though, to give us more spaciousness regarding certain mindsets, certain emotional sense, is to have some way to process our feelings. And what that gives us is spaciousness for the human experience as it arises in you, as it arises in me, as it arises in everyone. And even, extending beyond that, you may see even dogs or cats or critters, whatever the life form it is, the sensitivities that they too have. And so not only is there this spaciousness for consciousness, for life, there's also this compassion for this experience, for us as humans, this human experience, and have experience. So let's do a little bit of processing unpleasant emotions. This is our processing unpleasant emotion meditation. And it's always a good idea to start with the most unpleasant emotion of the day. And I hope that isn't too off putting for you. But whatever it was off putting in the moment. And what better time to process it so that you feel better in your own skin than right now? And by picking the most unpleasant, then you know you're not making it up. And if something changes for you, again, you know that you didn't make that up. So let's take this time right now. You pick the worst one, and we'll go from here. So once again, just taking a moment to reposition your body on the surface your body's resting, and very gently allowing your eyelids to drift downward until they do close. And on the next in breath, breathing in your most unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for your human experience. And breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for your human experience. Breathing in your most unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for your human experience. Breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for your human experience. Breathing in your most unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for your human experience. Breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for your human experience. Continuing to breathe, leaving your eyelids closed, and considering if we had some magical device capable of measuring all of the qualities and distinctions of human emotion, of all life forms present on this planet at this time. And even though their circumstances may be very different than yours, how many of them would register so close to your measurement as to be indistinguishable? One other person, 10 other people, perhaps hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe millions of life forms experiencing unpleasant feelings just like you and just like me. And on the next in breath, breathing in your most unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all of them and yourself and the shared life experience. Breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for shared lived experience. Breathing in your most unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all and this shared life experience. Breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all and this shared life experience. Breathing in your most unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all and this shared life experience. Breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all and this shared life experience. Continuing to breathe, leaving your eyelids closed and evaluating. Do you feel any more compassion for yourself and your human experience? Do you feel any more compassion for others and their lived experience? When you're ready, slowly let your eyes open. Notice if the room and space around you seems a little different than before, and if you feel a little different than you did. If there is a difference and you're enjoying this difference or curious about it, please soften into it and recognize that this is a gift that you've given to yourself. Tonight, we started off with a conversation about being mindful of spaciousness, and then we did our spaciousness meditation. Afterward, I talked some about a body centered mindfulness practice, and then we did that. Then, piggyback on that, was the heart centering meditation with the incredible experience of a meaningful sense of connection. Afterward, we talked some about emotional sensitivities, and then we did our processing unpleasant emotion meditation. That's what we just did. And we're about to close our evening with an adaptation of the Beauty Way prayer from the Native American Church. So when I say the word beauty, what I'm referring to here is the beauty of nature that gives us this awe-inspiring sense. And so my go-to place with this is the Milky Way, because the Milky Way is so incredible. It's so vast, and it, in terms of size, it's so large that it transcends our understanding. And also, its longevity is so massive that, again, it transcends our understanding. Now, you don't have to have your place of beauty as the Milky Way, although there's plenty of space in the Milky Way for all of us, of course. My bad humor. I hope you can oblige me that. And however, whatever your place of beauty is, the reason I partly picked the Milky Way is because it isn't to diminish us. It's to help us to recognize that we're a part of something that transcends our understanding. And before we say goodnight for tonight, I'm waving back to Renew Counseling Gem DR. Thank you for being here. So let's go ahead and do this prayer in our closing for tonight. And so when I say the word beauty, I'm referring to the Milky Way or whatever your source of beauty may be. Beauty that is in front of us, and beauty that is behind us, and beauty that is to the left of us, and beauty that is to the right of us, and beauty that is underneath us, and beauty that is above us, and beauty that is all around us. And it is extremely important to remember the beauty that is within us. Dear friends, walk in beauty. There's a word spoken in the language that the Navajo people speak that means walk in beauty. This word is Ojanahaslein. Ojanahaslein, Ojanahaslein, Ojanahaslein. Dear friends, walk in beauty, and please always remember you bring the beauty with you wherever you go. Walk in beauty. Namaste, Gesho, many blessings, and walk in beauty. Thank you for tonight.